Kurt Bardella, News Nation contributor and political and media strategist. Thank you both for being here this morning. So much to get to. Aaron, what do you make of this strategy from the former president to announce this press conference as Harris is facing criticism over not taking questions? What do you make of the timing of this move?
It's a good opportunity for Donald Trump and his campaign to try and lead the narrative right now. Since Kamala has been announced, since Tim Walz has been announced as her running mate, they've sucked a lot of the oxygen out of the campaign cycle for Donald Trump. This is good to force her onto her back foot, make her play defense, go on offense, and force her to have to answer questions. These unscripted moments are something that Trump does really well. He's unafraid to take questions from absolutely anybody. And so for Kamala to not take a single one, the fact that she might have to respond to this and this might force action by her campaign would be a win for the Trump team. If you're forcing your opponent to have to react to you, you're in a good position.
All right, Kurt, do you agree? Do you think that Harris's unscripted responses may damage her campaign? What's your take?
I don't, just because as we saw last night, she's very adept at thinking on her feet, at reacting in the moment, at being extemporaneous. I thought that she handled that heckling at her rally incredibly skillfully. I mean, frankly, she handled it like I think most moms handle unscripted moments with their kids and just basically said, this is how it's going to be. And if you don't like it, too bad. Sit down, shut up, and I'm going to keep talking. I'm like, good for her. I think there are a lot of women in America who saw that and went, yeah, that's exactly what we deal with every single day as they deal with the avalanche of men and society that try to talk over women to, quote, put them in their place. She's not having it. The moms and women's of America certainly aren't having it. And I think Aaron's right about one thing. If you are making your opponent do something responding to you, you're in the driver's seat. So I noticed yesterday it was J.D. Vance literally chasing Kamala, going up to Air Force Two, following her around. To me, that sends a signal that Trump and Vance are very well aware of the fact that they are chasing Kamala Harris around right now, trying to get her to do something that they want. And I just don't think it's going to work, especially when Trump has been backpedaling on the debates, and now all of a sudden he's trying to get a debate anywhere that he can. That just tells the story that Trump is all too aware that the oxygen has been sucked out of the room, that the attention isn't on him, which, as we know, since he is basically a narcissist, that drives him absolutely crazy.
Okay, so optics, as we know, and as you outlined, Kurt, they are important in every campaign. Let's talk about substance for just a moment. Just to follow your comments there, we couldn't really hear those protesters at the rally, but here's what they were saying. They were saying, you can't hide, we won't vote for genocide. And that's what Harris was reacting to. So she seemed to brush it off yesterday. She will have to face this issue head on. What do you think her strategy should be, Kurt? And then, Aaron, I'd love to get your response.
Yeah, I think that when you are having what I think everyone would just objectively agree is a fantastic rollout, a fantastic first impression to your campaign, you don't interrupt that by taking inside baseball questions from the press. That time will certainly come, but we also have the Democratic National Convention coming up here in less than 2 weeks, which of course everybody will be watching on News Nation. I think that after you have that opportunity to have your convention, kind of frame what the fall campaign would look like, define yourself more biographically, that's when all of the questions come. That's when you start doing the sit downs with media. That's when, as you head into a debate, like there's going to be plenty of questions and answers coming from the Harris Walz ticket and the media. And I also just don't believe that at the end of the day, anyone who's going to be voting in November is going to look back and go, gee, I really don't like that at the end of July and the first week of August, she didn't take a question from a reporter. No one's going to remember or care.
All right. And I appreciate the plug, Kurt. So, Aaron, what do you think about some of these tougher issues? We haven't really heard Harris respond since she announced her campaign to issues like Israel and the war that's happening right now. What do you think her response should be? What do you think her strategy will be as she may be pressed on these issues and others?
To push back on my good friend Kurt Bardella here, he said she handled it so well. Look at her at this rally pushing back on a protester. There's a vast difference between one heckler and the White House press corps. People who will push you on substantive issues and push you 2 or 3 questions deep. And Kamala hasn't wanted to do that because she doesn't want to have to define her policy positions, especially with the selection of Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, which drags this ticket further to the left. When you have to actually put up policy proposals and defend them, that's when things get sticky. And that's when taking questions and answering them and having to be substantive can get candidates in trouble, which is why Kamala does not want to have to do it. She doesn't want to defend her position, but she's going to have to. Those hecklers were going after her about Gaza and the war with Israel. And why were they doing that? Because this continues to be a lagging issue for the Democrats. College students are on their way back to campuses right now. Those pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protests are about to start up again. And Kamala cannot hide from the fact that she is going to have to answer these substantive questions about how she would handle the Israel-Hamas war, especially when you've seen the Democrats in their own party have major issues with anti-Semitism.
All right, well, we will await. All right, Kurt, I'll give you 10 seconds. What do you think?
I just got to say, it makes me chuckle when I hear a Republican talk about substance when their nominee is the one using words like liar, garbage, crazy,
Kurt, you've
unhinged,
used this one
destroy,
before, but your personality
because you don't have an answer for it,
I mean, you got to do something a little bit better, my good friend.
You're the party that took the RNC platform and reduced it to an index card.
You have both made a fantastic platform for a segment we have later in the show where we're talking about all of this because there are a lot of analysts who say Trump should be focusing on policy, not hurling attacks, these personal attacks especially.
Yeah, Kurt.
So we'll dig into all of
Aaron,
this.
you've wounded me today.
We're all better for this conversation. Kurt, Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. It's always fun.
We'll see you soon.
All right.